Hi everyone. Thank you for attending today's mini symposium on active learning teaching method in online classes. My name is Takanori Sakai, Associate Professor of Department of Logistics and Information Engineering, Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology. And I'll be chairing today's session. Today's session will be recorded, so those who are not be able to attend today can watch it later. Please mute your microphone and turn off the video camera except when you are speaking. First, Professor Tetsuro Hyodo, Dean of Graduate School of Marine Science and Technology, will give a few words. Professor Hyodo, please.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Tetsuro Hyodo, Dean of Graduate School of this university, Kumsan. And thank you very much for participating in this mini symposium on active learning teaching method in online classes. Today, we are hosting one of our events of the Japan Nordic Collaborative Program on Marine Education toward the Innovation and Sustainability, abbreviated as METIS program, which was adopted last September. The METIS program aims to promote student exchange between our university and our 6 universities, such as the Technical University of Denmark, the University of Southern Denmark, the Arctic University of Norway, and the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and the University of Stavanger, and finally, Nord University, 6th University. This program includes study abroad programs and internship program for graduate students. Participating students will take part in a 1-week online active learning course, which is abbreviated ALC. With ALC participation, they can experience the differences of cultures in advance and prepare for their study abroad with the necessary language skills and mindset. In preparation for the implementation of the ALC, this symposium aims to share the effects, method, and example of active learning in online education by experts from Japan and Norway. Today, 3 experts are joining. The first professor, Yoshiko Ikeda, from the International Division of Kansai University, a learning figure in COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning Type Education in Japan. She will talk about the educational effects and the challenges of international collaborative learning using ICT. The second speaker is Mr. Timothy James Marshall from the University of Stavanger, one of our METIS partners, who will join us online. He will discuss the practical example of CBL. CBL is challenge-based learning, especially CBS for teacher training in Norway. Now, it's 5 a.m. in Norway. Good morning. And we highly appreciate his cooperation. The third speaker is Professor Are Christopher Shidres. From the Arctic University of Norway, also METIS partner. He will introduce examples of how active learning is incorporated into classes, particularly focusing on the development of student-centered active learning approaches in the online international program named Contemporary Risk and Crisis Management. We hope all participants will be able to get the good insights from this symposium and to their own research and teaching methods. Okay, so I like to conclude my brief opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Hyodo. We are also pleased to have greetings from Mr. Kuniaki Sato, Director of International Affairs Division, Higher Education Bureau, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, who oversee the global development project. So please welcome Mr. Sato, Director of the division.
Hello and good morning, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kuniaki Sato, Director for International Affairs at Higher Education Bureau from Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. Well, it's a great honor for me today to be sharing a few words on behalf of MEX on this momentum occasion. Well, first, I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology on successfully organizing the METIS event, Mini Symposium on Active Learning Teaching Methods in online classes. I'd like to take this opportunity to offer my congratulations on the Japan Northern Europe Collaborative International Education Program, training program for advanced specialists creating the future of the oceans, which the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology has been developing in collaboration with universities in Denmark and Norway. It is truly commendable that this program was selected from among 19 applications, securing its place among the final 9 in September of last year. I recognize the tremendous efforts made by President Toshio Iseki and all the faculty and staff in preparing and submitting the proposal, and I extend my sincere respect for the commitment to the program. As we witness rapid globalization and digitalization across all sectors, global challenges continue to emerge in various fields. And in this context, the importance of international cooperation and collaboration in higher education has never been greater. Enhancing the global competitiveness and compatibility of Japan's higher education system is an urgent priority. To this end, it is an urgent task for Japan to increase study abroad mobility by expanding study abroad opportunities for Japanese students to be able to thrive on the global stage, while also attracting outstanding international students who will contribute to the internationalization of Japanese universities. In light of these pressing challenges, the Council for the Creation of Future Education, chaired by the then Prime Minister Kishida, established ambitious targets in April 2023 of increasing the number of Japanese students studying abroad to 500,000 and the number of international students in Japan to 400,000 by 2033. To realize these goals, MEX, we, the Ministry of Education, is pursuing a three-pronged approach, expanding outbound mobility for Japanese students, promoting the acceptance of outstanding international students, and fostering the internationalization of universities, which serve as a foundation for these initiatives. Among our key policies, the project to strengthen the global expansion of universities has been positioned as one of MEX's most important efforts. The project to strengthen the global expansion of universities plays a crucial role in establishing and implementing high-quality, pioneering inter-university and student exchange programs with strategically important countries and regions. The Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology has already been selected for 2 of them to date, and achieving the highest rating of S in both midterm and post-project evaluations during the 5-year project periods. Building upon these accomplishments, as Japan's only comprehensive maritime universities, I understand that the fiscal year 2024 METIS initiative will be developed and implemented in close collaboration with 6 Nordic universities in Denmark and Norway, renowned for their expertise in marine-related technology education, and research. So the theme of today's symposium is active learning teaching method in online classes. And I'm pleased to note that Professor Keiko Ikeda of Kansai University, a leading expert in this field, will introduce practical examples alongside insightful presentations from speakers representing universities in Norway and Japan. The focus on active learning in online education directly aligns with one of the core objectives of METIS, enhancing the quality of learning through digital and interactive methodologies. I'm confident that today's discussions will contribute significantly to the refinement of this program this year and in the next 5 years to come. I sincerely hope that this symposium will not only advance the METIS initiative and produce results, but will also enhance the international recognition and competitiveness of Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology. Furthermore, I hope that the outcome of this collaboration will serve as a model for other Japanese universities and foster good practices that will contribute to the stable development of the world by the academic community. In closing, I'd like to extend my best wishes for the success of today's symposium and for the continued progress of all participants, both from Japan and abroad. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sato. This METIS project of our university is expected by your ministry to support the Nordic diplomacy initiative to deepen cooperation in marine research and marine human resource development. We hope to live up to this expectation. So now our first presenter is Professor Keiko Ikeda of Kansai University. Professor Ikeda is a leading expert in global human resource development through collaborative online international learning, COIL. Educational method that enables online collaborative learning with higher education institutions around the world. She obtained a PhD from University of Hawaii in 2007 and has taught at the University of Toronto and Nagoya University before joining Kansai University. Currently, she is a professor in the International Division and the Deputy Director of the Global Education Innovation Promotion Organization at Kansai University. She is also a member of a team that developed the Study Abroad Promotion Initiative, which was put together by the Prime Minister's Council and has participated in many international education projects of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. Today's topic will be education effectiveness and the challenges of international collaborative learning using ICT with overseas students. Please ask your question in the takeaway session after the lecture. Dr. Ikeda, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction and thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, my name is Keiko Ikeda. I belong to many of the divisions, but ultimately my university is Kansai University located in Osaka. Today is a little bit warmer day in Osaka as well, and Tokyo too. I'm glad to see that spring has come, and I'm very happy to be here for the online participants and also on-site participants to learn about active learning. I wanted to finally just confirm the ARC that you mentioned. This is spelled as ALC, correct? Okay, good. So I just added that part to my title so that it's suited for your purpose of today's event. So my presentation or talk today talks about this as entitled Educational Effectiveness and Challenges of International Collaborative Learning. Particularly since I've been working on a particular pedagogy called COIL, using the ICT to do that with overseas students. Active learning doesn't have to be, or international collaborative learning doesn't have to use the ICT. However, if you wanted to connect the students with overseas, you do need to have the digital enhanced methodology. So just an introduction, add to what has been said. Recently, I've been reading a two initiative, which is also granted by the Ministry of Education, MEXT as well, Many of the things I do relates to collaborative learning using the ICT as a channel. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do and hope that there are some takeaway from that too, and also come down to more of an essence of why we do collaborative learning or active learning within the collaborative learning courses for our students. All right. So just extending a little bit more on an introduction of where I come from and what I do. I belong to a center called Institute for Innovative Global Education. And this is within the Kansai University that leads a digitally enhanced cutting-edge pedagogy, basically. And it doesn't have to be just COIL. It also extends to many other kind of pedagogy that uses that digital technology as an AA modality. Our mission is to help, of course, our university, Kansai University, to promote this kind of new educational format. However, we also like to serve others, mainly first Japanese universities, including your university and our network universities, and also beyond the Japan. So now we get a lot of requests of a capacity building training in the APAC region. So we are connected through the world now. This is our team. As you notice, my team is not necessarily very Japanese. I might be the only person, and my boss, the vice president of Kansai University in internationalization focus, is the only two locals, and the others are coming from all over the world. And we join in and form a team to enhance this new pedagogy together. We have been doing many different kinds of COIL, collaborative online international learning, or virtual exchange, particular pedagogy, since 2014. So this is right even before the pandemic time. And then I think the terminology, collaborative online international learning, has actually been caught much attention during the pandemic time and beyond. So everybody knows about this concept, but it has been started a while ago in our university. And we've been doing, nowadays, I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but we not only do an online collaboration, but afterwards, we actually do receive or send our students to a destination where the students collaborated with. So this is a concept very similar to what you've been doing or you're going to do with your initiative as well. And at the moment, this is a new development on our end, and I think it has a high relevance to what you're going to do in terms of ARC, the pedagogy. Kansai University is joining with a Osaka Metropolitan University, which is a public university governed by Osaka Prefecture. We started a new initiative called Osaka Social Impact Project. And this is under a 6-year interval initiative called Multicultural Campus Project towards Social Impact, which is also funded by the same division in the Ministry of Education. Most of the highlight of this initiative, I should not be the one that talking about the general overview of this initiative's mission. It should come from the actual ministry section. However, what's most relevant here is the one in the highlighted in the square. It wants to promote multicultural collaborative learning as a pedagogical approach that includes the Japanese students, local students, and international students together in one classroom setting. And in a classroom setting, you might think of in person, but however, it can be also a virtual classroom as well. But it has to be a mixed class dynamics, and then you do a project collaboratively. So it resonates with what you really want to do with the ARC approach. So I wanted to share that with you. And this started in December 2024, and we are going to be promoting much further on our campus, multicultural collaborative learning. We call it MCL. So I might be using that acronym MCL, and you're using the ARC, and then ICL is everywhere as well, and COIL could be another term that you might hear. But concept is how do you do active learning collaboratively in the classroom setting? That's what we are at the stake at the moment. Okay, so this is the we call online MCL, formerly known as COIL. It doesn't have to be either way or the other. It can be said in any other ways. We've been doing this for many years now, almost 10 years, and we started to arrange the SCOIO method. It used to be a bilateral, meaning that one university overseas to a local university in Japan, and one-to-one, university to university, classroom to classroom. Now we're starting to have another advanced version of virtual exchange or collaborative learning method that includes multilateral collaborative approach, meaning that you have multiple universities. So I've heard from the beginning of greeting here that Professor Hyodo that you have multiple universities in all your countries that you want to have the students all integrated with your local students. So multilateral approach might be actually more relevant to you. So you see that students coming from different universities all over the world. We have 124 overseas network membership institutions in our global network. So they send their students to our online virtual exchange module. And we have a faculty who run the curriculum, the module for that students. We put them into small groups, make the team, and make them to go through a project task, right? So when you do that, as you can see in this slide, you have a different interesting dynamics within each team that you form. For example, take a group 6, for example, you have Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. So in one setting, you have multiple countries, the different backgrounds, students come together to actually complete a mission, a team doing a project. So that seems to be more appreciated by the many universities, particularly during the pandemic time where they all wanted something online to provide to their students inclusively. And then even beyond the COVID time, inclusive education, particularly for international education on demand nowadays with the given current affairs in the world, as Mr. Sato has talked about, this is even more on demand. So we continue to actually adapt this pedagogy on our campus. All right, so just giving you an overview of what we've been doing and the relevancy on our practices we're promoting with our center. Now I'm going to move on to more of a conceptual part of international collaborative learning. And this will apply to what you're going to do with the ARC, right? So international collaborative learning that leads to COIL, ARC, any other things, pedagogy we're talking about, and focus is defined as an educational approach where students from different countries work together on a project or learning activities, and often facilitated by digital tools in online platform, but do not have to be. It's not a required. However, it makes it more inclusive, as I mentioned earlier, right? This model leverages the power of a global connectivity to enrich educational experiences through exposure to diverse perspectives and expertise. It sounds good, but I think we should talk about this as an individual person who's involved in this, as a teacher, a staff, or institutional admission office, etc. Why do we need to do this, right? The why part. What do these pedagogy bring to our students? This is very important, I think, at stake to think about. This is the drive for us, right? When you're working on this virtual exchange, ARC, integrating multiple universities, it's a hassle. It's complex matter. But why do we need to keep going at it? You go back to this. Why do we want to do this for students? Right? One thing that I like to bring out is this concept, graduate attributes. Ask yourself, please, what are the skill sets and mindsets that you want your graduates, students to have? Undergraduate or postgraduate either. What do you want your students to have at the end of the tunnel or at the end of the whole university life before they step into the real world? What do you want to make sure that they have? I think there could be multiple answers. Asking different people would they have different answers. I just wanted to bring this one, to highlight this one, because it really relates to many things you pop up in your mind. Global employability. Graduate attributes will be leading them to build this. Global employability in definition refers to skills and competencies needed to work in a globalized economy. And economy is globalized, period. It's not going to be the reversed way, I hope. And global employability and international education are very much tied together. And this is very pivotal in today's interconnected world. Now, in my view, there are at least three aspects that relates to this concept, global employability. In terms of what global employability means for students, educators, and employers globally. So all dimensions all covered. And I'd like to go through step by step of all three here. Let's focus on one of them first, skill alignment. So this is relating to skill alignment with the global market needs. So programs are increasingly designed to develop critical thinking, analytical skills, technological proficiency, and so forth. These are highly valued skills across industries worldwide. Skill set, the term I just mentioned, we use this all the time as a daily vocabulary, but I wanted to bring in the definition as well. Here, a skill set, I refer to this as a combination of abilities, knowledge, and experiences that enable a person to perform tasks effectively. It can include both hard skills, right? Teachable abilities, coding, accounting, digital literacy, etc. The hard ones that they can tangible see and touch, maybe see how people perform. And soft skills. In the business sector, they call soft skills. In the international education, we don't like that term, but I use it for usability anyway here. It refers to interpersonal skills, like communication, cross-cultural communication, and problem solving. Those are all included in here. Skill sets are often tailored to particular jobs and fields, and they evolve as individuals gain new experiences or adapt to changes in their career or industry. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that details on these, but I just wanted to refer this. This comes from a Future Jobs Survey 2020 World Economic Forum. And they have every year they have World Economic Forum have listed all the skills of top skills for the current affairs. That what are the skill sets that the people have to have. And it's interesting. It just keeps adding and adding and adding. A few years ago, it was top 10. Now it's top 15. So probably in the next year, we're going to have top 20. But anyway, you can see that, so there's the small fonts there for however, but some of the things that I've already mentioned, active analytical thinking, innovation, complex problem solving, creativity, originality, you probably heard this more, right? Leadership, technology, designing, programming, etc., etc. And also, I wanted to draw your attention to number 2. This is active learning and learning strategies. So the ARC pedagogy seems to be right on to the building of skill sets that you want to cultivate for your students there. Okay. So that's a skill alignment. That's the first concept. Second concept is a cultural competence and adaptability. These are key traits that employers value, especially in roles that require interaction with global markets and multicultural teams. And even for Japan, it could be just within this Japanese island itself, but now its population is shrinking. That means the market range is shrinking as well, meaning that all the industries are looking outward. So global markets is necessary to survive for them, for their businesses. So the employability skills that they expect for the new incoming people, employees, have to be global. So cultural competence is going to be highly more important. And this leads to, I talked about the skill set. Now I'm talking about the mindset. Yeah. So mindset refers to the set of beliefs, attitude, and perspectives that shape how individuals perceive and approach challenges, opportunities, and their environment. It's up here, right? Influence behavior, of course, because this is the way it controls what we do. Motivation is impacted too, and the way people handle success and failure. So skill set's important, but maybe mindset's even more important, right? I tend to talk a lot about mindset because of that weight on the mindset than the skill set. Both important, of course. But it seems more challenging aspect as well, to do the unlearning of what you have already and then get a new set of mindset as well. So this is the challenges for educators. By adapting new pedagogy, hopefully you have a way of chance to unlearn and provide a new learning of a new mindset. And I come from an international education field, so I have to emphasize on this part as a very important concept in terms of mindset, intercultural understanding, right? Through the MCL that we do, or COIL, or ARC that you do, intercultural sensitivity is an important learning objective. Important to identify, for us particularly, the where I'm going to be describing this model a little bit further, in terms of their development of intercultural sensitivity, where do we want our students to be? How do we want to bring them up and up the ladder? Obviously, this is a model. It's a developmental model proposed by Milton Bennett in the communication studies field. It starts from ethnocentric stages to ethno-relative stages. Obviously, more the right you go, the better. So how far do we want our students to go? Where are they now? How many stages do we need to actually bring them to? This is a good question, and we should have a goal in mind when you actually design ARC courses. I'll take you through the steps. I'm not going to bore you if you know about it, so we're just going to go through very quickly on all stages. So first three I talked about is ethnocentric. It's me value, right? First is denial. So you are believing that a person's culture is the only real culture. So mine's the only one, the others doesn't exist or nothing, right? That's a really not a stage you want your students to be. You're moving on to a second stage, a bit further, you recognize the differences, right? But that person is in defense. They might feel threatened by the other cultures and their differences. And when you think about the world affairs nowadays, that seems like defense seems to be everywhere at the moment. It's sadly, and this is not the stage, again, you want your students to be. You really have to bring them up furthermore. So moving on, third stage on top of it is minimization. Minimization stage is a little bit better, and many actually people in the world, I was like, world peace, we are the world, that kind of a mindset. So we minimize the differences among each other's culture. We're all human beings. We all appreciate love. We all appreciate parents. Those values, core values, and you see all that only, and then ignore the differences in culture. It sounds good. However, if you ignore the differences, you can't take advantage of the differences either. So it does have risks. So you don't want your students to be dwelling on this third stage either. Okay? So now moving on to further ethno-relative stages, all three of it. Acceptance is the first one, moving on to the next three sets. This stage, the learners are able to recognize and appreciate cultural difference through both behaviors and values. They recognize there is a different system or a different culture existing there. You accept. You may not like it, but giving the judging aside, you accept that there is existence. So you're accepting it. That's the step in, right? You are taking apart your ethnocentric value system away and seeing this mutually. So that's a pretty good stage. But we'd like to make the students go furthermore, adaptation. This is the fifth stage in the model. Learners are able to incorporate the worldview of others in their own worldview. Now they see good things or how things are working in a different culture. Not only you accept, you adapt that part into how you manage things, right? So that's where the students actually cultivate their sensitivity and also appreciation of the fact that there are differences in cultures and they're respecting them, accepting it, and even furthermore. So additional step in understanding different culture here. Final stage, just mentioning it, and this is the hard stage in a way of getting there. So I don't know that all the students can actually get to this stage, but this stage is if you spend enough time in both culture, multiple cultures, enough, for example, a child who's grown up in two cultures, one parent comes from one culture and the other parent comes from different culture, half kid, right, basically has two different cultures all the time throughout as they grow up. So their identity integration, their development, cannot have one only. They have to have both in order to identify who they are. So that's an integration stage, and that won't happen to everybody. But if you spend enough time and you become a globalized person immersed in different cultures, you may get to that point as well. So going back to the model stream again, as I mentioned, the first three stages are not really something that we wanted to encourage students to be doing here. You might want to move them to ethno-relative stages. And if you can actually apply the course module design so that they are actually aware that they need to move on to these stages, and also giving them opportunities to step up further in the intercultural sensitivity model, the better. So it's a good reminder for us to know this model scheme here. Okay? Training students to be ready for future careers and equipping them with the ability to navigate complex global issues. That global sensitivity, cultural sensitivity is a highly important, essential component to that. And this is not just for the students who are able to study abroad. This is for everyone, with or without a passport. So that's what we, Kansai University also, and it's starting to be more the trend in international education. We call it not just global learning, but global learning for all. Once again, to be inclusive, digital enhancement is something that you have to opt to. Okay. So third component, language skills and communication. There's much to say about the language part, and I'll touch on it a little bit more after, more about logistical, realistic challenges that we always face when you actually have Japanese students interacting with students from Norway or Denmark. So we'll talk about the barrier part of it a little bit later. But I want to draw your attention to communication aspect for a little bit here. So understanding how people lead and manage organization differently. This is something I would like always for our courses to bring in, and also to recommend that the ARC courses to bring in, is orienting your students about how people attend to people lead organization, people lead the team. When you're actually having them to work on project, it's always a team. There's always going to be a leader. There's going to be how things move on in preceding project. And different cultural values behind it may actually lead them to apply or assume a different kind of leadership. And this is coming from a business field. They analyze us. This is coming from Erin Meyer's culture map, talks about a different international leadership concept. And I'm going to play a very short clip from Harvard Business Review. This was created together with Erin Meyer's guidance, supervision. And I think you'll find some of your related countries. Japan's in here as well, and Norway is not here. However, Denmark is here, so you might have a little reference. So it might be interesting for you to actually see how these little dots moves. All right, so I'll play that.
You might be a star negotiator in your own country, but in today's global economy, your skills may not automatically translate to other cultures. For instance, in some cultures, it's entirely appropriate to show emotion during a negotiation, to raise your voice, laugh passionately, or even put a friendly arm around your counterpart. In others, this much expression not only feels intrusive or surprising, but may be viewed as immature or unprofessional. Then there's open disagreement. Negotiators often assume that more expressive cultures are also more confrontational, but that isn't always the case. In some countries, such as France and Israel, emotions pour out, including disagreement. But for other very expressive cultures, such as Brazil, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia, open disagreement could be seen as insulting. Some less expressive cultures, such as Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands, see open disagreement and debate as positive and necessary, as long as it's expressed calmly and factually. Others tend to be both less emotional and non-confrontational, which means you'll have to be especially attuned to subtle cues for both positive and negative responses. It's also important to learn how others build trust. There are two distinct types, cognitive and affective, and in a business setting, the dominant type of trust varies from one culture to another. Cognitive trust is task-based. It comes from the head and is built on your counterpart's accomplishments, skills, and reliability. American culture offers a good example of this kind of trust. In the United States, getting too emotionally close to a business counterpart is seen as unprofessional, and mixing the personal and professional is seen as risky. Affective trust is relationship-based and comes from the heart. It arises from the feelings of emotional closeness, empathy, and friendship that are developed gradually through sharing meals, evening drinks, and coffee breaks. In China, for instance, negotiators are unlikely to trust their counterparts until an effective connection has been made. Adapting your negotiation approach accordingly will help you get to yes, or si, ja, oui, hai, and da.
Okay, so I hope you find some of the things very interesting. I saw no way in there for affection part of it. This is again country by country, so individual may be different. I've had Danish friend of mine who's always giggling and very social. That could happen too, right? It's not always the case, and you need to remind your students that this is really only a referential. However, recognizing the fact that there are a different understanding, which is when you probably heard about a cultural iceberg model, right? When you see an iceberg, there's the things that you see above the surface of water. It's just pretty easy. It's food and religion and clothing and things like that. But then underneath it, there's much more ice underneath it. And in that part, this kind of leadership understanding assumption are going to be hidden in there and under the surface. And those are the things orienting them in the beginning and also throughout of their progress of a project is a very, very important matter. And also, this is a learning that we wanted to make sure that you bring in the ARC course. Okay, so that mindset part is, I just wanted to highlight that part. And I'm going to briefly talk about this tool set part. So we got the skill set and mindset, and we live in a digital era now. The tool set is coming as a third component that we cannot ignore. So tool set refers to a collection of tools designed for a specific task and activities. This can include physical tools. It used to be that, right? Hammers and wrenches and screwdrivers and things like that. That fact that you're able to use it was a tool set. But nowadays, it's a digital tools, of course, like software programs used in fields or generative AI. That's what everybody talks about nowadays. Those are coming from a part of the tool sets. They're organized to address particular needs also and to ensure that the right resources are available to perform a wide range of tasks effectively and efficiently, right? So the skill to use it effectively, efficiently, and you have the basic digital literacy skills, now this is also another important component as a tool set. So skill set, mindset, tool set. And ARC actually opportunities to provide all trainings of those three sets to be when you think about it, right? It comes out of a resolution by when you had the study abroad is not available. However, this actually has a lot to offer more than that. And also, I wanted to bring this language part of it. I'm sure when I have to open up a question and answer, that somebody will ask about this. So I'm going to bring it in right now. Language barrier part of it, when you're actually having international students, particularly Japanese students and others who join into an online collaboration, language is the issue. What can we do about this? English is hard, etc., right? As a tool set, however, I wanted to add this, the blended learning approach that we are actually using that digital tools to get them to collaborate. It actually comes as an advantage to overcome or find the resolution to somehow language challenges. Many things you can do. Nowadays, you find so many things available out there. Search engines that has translation functions, that's already AI mounted things you see everywhere, and many things are free now. You can have them use the search engine databases for research, and then also add the translation on the side. If they're working on a project which requires that, have them make that tools available to them, rather than saying, oh, you have to study English first. It beats the whole purpose, ultimate purpose, that what the students want to do in the project. So we have to unlearn our mindset in a way, right? Then have them to make it available, take advantage of it. Or utilizing technology as an aid in the learning process, if you want to. If you really want your students, for Japanese students particularly, to build their more vocabulary, practice their pronunciation, so that they can collaborate better in our course. You don't need to have them to come to another additional English courses. There are AI-generated machine learning applications and practice opportunities out there already. Consider that to be a part of it for their aid. So that's another opportunities as well that you can do. And I would mention this as well. Say Norway and Japan has 7 hours time difference, right? Time difference is a wonderful thing. A lot of people think that this is a challenge. However, in Japanese students' mindset, this is a wonderful advantage for them. A synchronous mode of learning, when you have a non-real-time time lag, students, particularly the ones who work in the STEM area for my university, they actually appreciate the time that allowed to them. They can do it, we can edit it, they can refer to any things that they need to refer to, and come up with the output that they are really proud of. And it's a very high intelligent output. Send it to their overseas peers, they respect it, right? So asynchronous mode is actually turned around to be an advantage for Japanese students. I wanted to bring that out to you. So designing the course that way is a good thing to keep in mind. Okay. All right, and quickly the remaining of it, time I wanted to go through how to design a successful module for ARC or COIL or MCL. And we actually, IIG Center, help a faculty member who are just starting anew on COIL course or any other collaborative learning courses to design a module together. So we act as a sort of instructional designer for active learning, basically. And I'm just sharing with you the steps that we always run through with them and also tag along their designing journey with them. So step 1 is have partners. So you will have a local partner, your faculty member, and you have other partners overseas to brainstorm and draft the key elements of, it says COIL, but it could be ARC as well here, with your partner. So brainstorming stage, that takes place. And will help them to arrange the dates and time, etc., facilitate the session. And second, make sure the learning objectives are generated and then they are clear and durable and clear deliverables are associated with. So learning objectives is highly, highly important to actually spend enough time to generate before they begin the practices. Logistics, like when and how and what kind of tools, those are important too. However, that's not enough. And even further, more importantly, you have to have what is it that you want students to take away with, right? Learning objectives. In COIL case, it makes more complex because we have a one course with the one syllabus, and the overseas partner has their own course and their own syllabus. So 2 sets of syllabus, and you need to actually pair them and see what are the learning objectives overlaps. If they don't, say interdisciplinary collaboration, you need to come up with the new learning objectives. So this is a complex phase, and IIGE see that as somebody has to be tag along and help them. So instructional designer role comes in a very important role here. And step 3, ensure your COIL or ARC design includes intercultural exchange and collaborative opportunities. Sometimes when we have a modules designed by 2 engineering professors, for example, they may forget about this 3rd stage to be very important. So instructional designer roles as IIGE Center, we remind them sensei, professor, culture understanding, sensitivity development. I talked about this Milton's model. This is an important phase. I would like you to create activities or opportunities for students to come back to it and reflect on their development, right? So for that, we have several ways of suggesting to professors how to go about that, and we sometimes also design them for them on their behalf to make sure those are included in that module. So sometimes we suggest structural intercultural dialogue activities or reflective journals. So students go through or ask them to write a journal about what do they feel, what are the differences that you noticed in activities that you did today, etc. So have them actually submit a journal. Or cultural self-assessments. We have a set of form questionnaire that they can actually use as a template and have them to go through it, just taking 5 minutes at the end of the class or at the end of the day, right? It's a quick thing, but when you do it more frequently, they keep coming back and then the awareness is raised that way. And feedback loops and cross-cultural insights. If the faculty, the professors cannot do it on their own, we come in and actually our coordinators do it too. So that's a system that we cultivated over the stretch of 10 years. We've been doing the support of a COIL that we integrated this in our part of our endeavor. And step 4, the logistics, the details come on. So number of sessions, how many times do you want to do it? Do you want to do it real time? Do you want to do it asynchronous? What kind of digital space you want to use? Or what are the deliverables that you expect? Is that a research PowerPoint, or is that a presentation? Is it media products, etc. Right? I'm just sharing some of the evaluation assessment methods that we use for our COIL, and it could be used for any kind of a project-based learning design, I guess. This is a rubric that we create, and we sometimes create it together with our overseas partner, and sometimes we have a template that we just give them, and then the faculties can use. So more samples available, the better for the courses to be showing that component that you want to have integrated in the ARC course. This is a set of a question for reflection on the intercultural side of it. So what did you learn, term experience, etc., etc. Those are created into a online form, right? OneDrive form or Microsoft or Google form, etc., and have them go quickly through at the end of the task. And timing of a reflection is something I wanted to show you with this slide. Don't worry about the content of modules. Rather, I wanted to show you this is the whole, say, 5-week course, 5 weeks module design for ARC course or COIL course, right? We don't ask them just to do a reflection one time. We do it from before, right at the beginning. We do it in the middle, and then we also at the end. So reflection in multiple times, giving them more awareness raising, and the different sets of answer questions are given to them to quickly go through and reflect. Sometimes we have them to talk with each other over their thoughts as well. So just an additional designing to it is a very, very important component to add to. Okay. I'm not quite sure if I have time for this one. I will just end it here perhaps. Active learning is something that ARC focuses on mainly, so I wanted to bring this one as a concept if you don't know it. Active learning, defined here, is a teaching method focused on engaging students in the learning process directly. And retention rate is something I wanted to bring your attention to if you haven't been exposed to this pyramid. This pyramid is been around in the educational engineering field of many, many years, very traditional D model. How much of a retention rate the students actually remember from participating is actually ranked in the pyramid. And you see the different activities are listed in here in the triangle pyramid here. On the top, it says lecture, reading, audio-visual input, demonstration, you show how to do it, right? Or group discussion, have them to mingle and discuss, and practice by doing, having them to work on it, doing project basically, and then teach others. Those are the various activities you can integrate in your the course module. When you think about the retention percentage, though, when you see it, unfortunately, teachers, when you actually do a beautiful lectures, 90 minutes, 100 minutes, only 5% is retained by the students. So you have to rethink about what you do. This is where leads to active learning should be more emphasized. When you actually have students to teach others, right? Then they retain 90%. How wonderful. Students are acting very much active, and we are only just supervising how they do it. They retain more, right? So when you think about designing your course in active learning, that pyramid has to be in your head and decides what should be done in this information or a particular sets of things that you want to do today. So this can apply not just in online collaboration, but in in-person classroom teaching as well, just the whole general idea of it. And then for the time for questions and reflection, I will just end it here. For questions, reflections, sharing, I will appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll wait for one more minute for people writing down. Yes.
Please.
Thank you very much. Very good presentation. I'm happy to hear the international collaboration lecture is very important. I recognize the teaching. And I have the question: how many people join the project? One student semester, grade,
In our university?
University.
So we have, our student body is 30,000 students. That's a quite large student body. And each undergraduate for taking it, for example, you go for 7,500 students. It's really impossible to have all 7,500 students to have COIL. However, starting from 2026, we will have the multiple collaborative learning courses for everyone. So we will have 7,500 students. All of it will experience some kind of collaboration learning. Right now, we have roughly about 1,000 students.
Thank you very much. You say the firstly the coordinate the group, every countries participates one country to one person. So how many groups is you
Formed.
Question
was how many groups usually are formed in each one COIL setting. Depends on the numbers of students. We had as many as 140 students altogether. We don't go any more than 4 to 5 members in each team. If you go more than that, there's going to be free riders. So we limit. That means that if you have 140 and you have 5 is one team, you have tons of groups that you have to monitor. So you need a facilitators and a student assistant that help you to actually monitor it. But we have done it before. Digitally speaking, put them into breakout rooms and have them discuss. Those things are easy. You can go as many as you want. But if you want to make sure the group progress in project well, you need to have some facilitation and monitoring. And that part is a little complex. But I would not recommend 140 people at once, unless you're used to it. Usually what we do is we limit our COIL class to be 25 max. And overseas partner may have another 20, 25. So that's 50 as maximum. 50 to 60 is a maximum range, usually on average. So that has, say, 10 groups-ish.
Okay. So
And that's doable.
the limitation is the facility member and lecturer and
Correct. Correct. It's the power, how big of your powerhouse is, that's the question.
Thank you so much.
Right, thank you very much. So I have one question. So how do you choose the subject for, you talk about the COIL, and then it's I understood that that's more like interaction and feedback and they understand each other, those stuffs. And then my question is that what is your takeaway for applying that for the field of the science. Like, the students have to learn some specific knowledge, engineering, science. It's not just sharing the opinions, but we kind of deepen the understanding of some subject, right? So many professors here gives the lectures like, the student can take only 5%. What is the takeaway, from your experience to apply, to gain the benefit, from the active learning in the science courses?
Well, even with that, we have done many actually collaboration courses in STEM area. And in fact, one of the most sustaining is come from bioengineering. They actually do a research project together and they generate a paper at the end of the whole year. The students are all co-authored and the two professors collaborate also has the co-authorship to it. So that's the ultimate output they are aiming at. But through that process, for example, because it's bioengineering, they have to do the lab experience, right? How they actually manage the lab itself, the culturally or behaviorally, they're different. And then recognizing that differences also makes them to learn more about when they actually go abroad, for example, or work in an international setting in a research group, then they are more equipped to do so. So that kind of things is a big takeaway for them, for student purpose. And also for faculty end, there's research also is deepen it, right? So they can progress on what they want to do. So there's more merits in both sides. That's why it's sustaining. I don't need to tell them to do the COIL anymore. They just do it because it really helps them to do so. So I would not say all the disciplines can do in exactly the same way, but it does have a way. And actually the project, when you think about the project, in the science, unless you're, I don't know, mathematician, maybe I'm biased, you have to work in team. You're doing project. So actually it might be more suitable as a design itself than humanities. Humanities, you read a literature, for example, interpret it. You may not have to do this in teams. You're forcing them to do it, basically, right? So in the end, actually it might have more suitability.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just wondering, what is the response from the students? I'm sure you have student evaluations. Are there particular challenges in implementing it or running it, or
Thank you.
what are considered benefits?
Thank you for that question. Over the stretch of 10 years, the reaction have changed. In the beginning, this was the whole brand new thing that they've never had it before elsewhere on campus. So they're a bit of shock at the same time. I think I've got the best student evaluation ever in my career time. They wanted more. They wanted to come to the class. They wanted to actually spend more time with their students on apps or wherever. They just found that to be fulfilling to their needs. I also got a reaction that they're crying in tears because they weren't able to do what they want to do in expected ways of performance on their own. So they realized how poorly that their skills are, and now they're eager to train themselves furthermore, right? So they found the goal, the next goal, but then they're shocked at the fact that they can't do it. But if I just giving them a lectures or normal classroom traditional ways, they would not realize that, come to that kind of realization at all. So either the positive reaction or negative reaction, but we're shaking them all into very hard ways and left to right. So that really made them opportunities for moving forward. So that was the beginning. And now the 10 years, COIL's been a sort of a cultural thing on our campus. You hear it, you take courses, you see it in the catalog. So you're expecting, you go into it knowing that you get this kind of stuff. So I don't get that fresh responses anymore, but they are actually appreciating this kind of new methods. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? So lastly, I want to ask if you have any one easy things you can do from the lectures or from your classes tomorrow. If you have any tips to the faculty here, then that would be appreciated.
For active learning or more ARC method or
Well, either or both of them. So
okay.
yeah, active learning, yes,
Okay,
I can say that.
so quick thing is to stop lecturing. That's one thing. Just even for 10 minutes. Say if you have 90 minutes, I'm not sure how many minutes the lecture is here, but if you have 90 minutes, just stop lecturing for 10 minutes, not at the end, in the middle. And then say, I'll stop here, 10 minutes. What are the takeaways? What do you actually remember? Jot down, just as I did. You know, if you have a Prime YouTube video, you can play the 2 minutes, have them write down, and then not to do it with the groups. I recommend find one person in the classroom and then share. So one-to-one sharing, it's easier than a group sharing. It's easy to share to one person only, and you have more time to actually share. You speak more that way. Just do that 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be in English. It can be in Japanese. And then switch back to another lecture again. And if you have more time, you can do another takeaway.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Easy enough. Hopefully.
Yeah, easy enough. I agree with what you're saying. So I think this is quite depending on the education culture. You know, if you get education from the US and you from Europe, it's totally different experience actually. The lectures actually happens only maybe less than half of the lecture hours, course hours. So that's a great tips for the faculties here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.